Greg doesn't have any New Year's resolutions for himself because he's pretty much perfect. He's decided to spy on his family members and harass them for not doing their resolutions. Wasn't that the plot of Babysitter's Little Sister, Book 14? Ew. Greg, I have a resolution for you. Don't copy the Little Sister series. Argo Font Book Review. Argo Font Book Review. Uncle Charlie got Greg a laundry hoop for Christmas. Greg made the mistake of complaining he doesn't do laundry right in front of Mom. Mom's reaction was, "Guess what? You're doing all your laundry now! Merry Christmas!" Over the next 5 months, Greg takes every excuse to avoid doing laundry. As in, he would rather wear 2-week-old underwear inside out than wash it. Greg eventually runs out of clean clothes and he's forced to wear embarrassing clothes, like his swimsuit and a novelty shirt from a wedding. Greg, you're being gross. Just do your laundry already. My favorite part of the book is when Greg talks about the book, The Giving Tree, and its absolutely terrifying picture of the author, Shel Silverstein. Greg says that picture gave him nightmares, and I definitely understand why. Greg's rendition of the picture is significantly less scary, but it's still pretty creepy. Greg looks bad in front of Dad when he's too lazy to get up off of the couch to grab the TV remote. We've all been there, right? Greg makes a time capsule with Rolly. Greg hopes time travelers will find it in the future and reward him with huge amounts of free money. I wasn't surprised when Greg later digs up the time capsule and takes all the cool stuff for himself. Greg likes Holly Hills, the 4th prettiest girl in school. He tries to impress her by telling poop jokes. Sorry, Greg, but I don't think talking about poop will make Holly feel romantic. Greg starts taking naps after school. That interferes with his homework time, which is bad, and it interferes with his TV time, which is worse. Greg says it doesn't matter because in the future, everyone will have a personal robot that can answer all your questions. This book was published before Siri and Alexa were invented, so I'd say Greg totally predicted the future. Greg's class loses its recess privileges when someone steals the teacher's dictionary. They pay a nerdy kid $5 to find it. Humorously, it turns out the nerdy kid had the dictionary all along. He likes reading the dictionary. Greg has trouble staying awake in school when someone eats his lunch cookies. Greg's pretty sure it's Roderick. He tries spying on Roderick, but ends up being stuck in a hiding spot for an hour while Roderick and his friend talk about barf. Greg gets bad grades. He blames the lack of cookies, but it's only been 2 days. I think his grades were probably bad to begin with. Greg tries to get out of trouble with his parents by going to bingo with Grandma, but the bingo ladies scare him. What a wimpy kid. Last year, Greg wrote an overly passionate Valentine for a girl named Natasha. Natasha was more confused than anything else. She wrote Greg's name on someone else's card and pretended it was for him. That's basically what Greg would do if a girl surprised him with a card. Maybe Natasha would be a good match for Greg. The school's Valentine's dance is awkward. All the students avoid each other until the teachers force them to dance. The girls dance like music video stars, while Greg's dance is a step to the left and a step to the right. That's it, 2 steps. Even though it's the laziest dance possible, all the other boys copy Greg. Greg tries to dance his way to Holly, which definitely takes a while if you're only moving 1 step at a time. He's interrupted by Fregley, who's on a major sugar high. Easter is a disaster. Greg gets a chocolate stain on his pants, his uncle wants to hold hands in church, and he accidentally puts too much money in the collection basket. Greg gets the idea to call his younger brother a made-up word, Ploopy. Manny throws such a huge fit, they have to leave church early. Dad makes Greg sign up for soccer, but Greg gets stuck with the angry coach who doesn't appreciate Greg's hilarious butt jokes. The other kids on the team are morons who worry they can't use the name Red Sox without being sued. Well, this book changes the names of America's Funniest Home Videos and Encyclopedia Brown, so Greg hears Holly's having a sleepover party. He tries to spy on it by going to a sleepover at Rolly's. This backfires. When all the kids at Rolly's party are 6 years old, they spend the whole time annoying Greg. Greg's soccer teammates annoy him too. He's jealous when two of them get blankets and rest in the nice warm car, while Greg has to sit on a cold bench. The only time Greg gets to play is during a penalty kick. Greg is scared and dodges out of the way. What a wimpy kid! Greg asks to be the backup goalie, which is a pretty sweet gig. He doesn't have to run drills or anything. The one time he does play in a game, he's distracted by dandelions. He doesn't even notice the other team scoring. A picture of Greg's big failure ends up in the newspaper. Dad is surprised when a neighborhood kid transforms from troublemaking teen to model citizen. This inspires Dad to sign Greg up for military school. Why just Greg? Roger could use some major behavior lessons too. Greg tries to make himself look good in Dad's eyes by joining the Boy Scouts. This plan doesn't work very well, because Greg purposely joins the lazy troop, not the one that does community service projects all the time. Also, Greg cheats when doing soap carvings for Boy Scouts. There are two camping disasters. First, Dad is stuck with wild boys who fight and end up in the emergency room. Second, they get rained out and spend the night in a hotel. Roderick tricks Greg, so Greg is trapped in the hallway in his underwear for hours. Needless to say, Dad isn't happy. Greg tries to call Holly Hills, but Roderick hides the phones, and then Mom picks up the phone at the worst possible moment. Greg tries hiding in his parents' room to make a phone call, but he ends up scaring Dad half to death. Greg tries to impress Holly with roller skating. The problem is that Greg can't roller skate. Rolly wears a weird outfit, and Greg lost a contact lens, so he has to wear his giant glasses. Greg wears glasses? This is page 196 of book 3. It's the first time we've heard about Greg wearing glasses. Holly mistakes Greg for Fregley, and she writes nice things in Rolly's yearbook. Greg decides he's pretty much over Holly now. Dad goes to a party where the hosts expect him to do something embarrassing for America's Funniest Home Videos. Dad begs for help. Greg accidentally provides a huge distraction. When he's stuck climbing a tree, his pants fall down, showing off his Wonder Woman underoos. Dad is so happy for Greg's help, he agrees to let Greg stay at home instead of joining the military. I think we can safely say, Wonder Woman saved the day! The end. Post-book follow-up. This book was pretty good. It's definitely in line with the two previous Wimpy Kid books. I have a hard time imagining someone liking the first two books, but disliking this one. That's how similar they are. I noticed bad grammar in this book. Greg consistently says Rolly and me when he should say Rolly and I. Is that not a grammar rule anymore? Or did the copy editor think it's realistic for a middle schooler to ignore that rule? I'm not a fan of the title, which doesn't have much to do with the book. Something with Dad would have fit the book better. Or maybe Dad could have said, "This is the last straw," at some point. That would make the title fit better. This is marketed as a Greg has problems with his dad book, which makes sense as a follow-up to last book's Greg has problems with Roderick. I don't think Dad shows up often enough for this to count as a dad book. He definitely could have been worked into the story more. For most of the book, Dad's appearances are limited to him standing in the background, being disappointed by Greg. He could have had a more active role. I think he should have had direct conversations with Greg. On the other hand, it's realistic for a middle schooler to focus on unimportant things like naps and cookies, while only being half aware of their parents. Overall, I like this book as much as the last two. Greg's commentary on his life continues to be hilarious. It's interesting to see him completely fail to impress Holly Hills, since he mostly ignored girls in the last two books. For the most part, Greg's problems are relatable, and you can still sympathize with him, despite his total lack of self awareness and his extreme self centeredness. I give Diary of a Wimpy Kid number 3, The Last Straw, a 10 out of 10.